When Courtney Hadwin first stepped onto the stage, almost nobody expected what happened next. Her unforgettable audition amazed millions and turned her into an overnight sensation. But as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the rumors. Headlines claimed dramatic reactions, emotional breakdowns, and shocking behind-the-scenes stories, including claims that Simon Cowell broke down in tears on live television. But what actually happened, and what is simply internet exaggeration? This story separates verified facts from viral headlines, revealing Courtney's real journey, the pressure of sudden fame, and why her career continues to fascinate fans years later. Sometimes, the biggest moments begin with complete silence. No one cheering. No dramatic music. Just one nervous teenager walking onto a stage that could change her life forever. That teenager was Courtney Hadwin. When she first appeared on America's Got Talent in 2018, she looked incredibly shy. She spoke softly. She avoided eye contact. Her hands trembled as she introduced herself. Many people watching at home thought they knew exactly what would happen next. A nervous contestant, a polite performance, then a quiet goodbye. Even the judges noticed how anxious she seemed. Howie Mandel tried to make her feel comfortable. He smiled and encouraged her before the music even started. It was a small gesture, but it would soon become unforgettable. Because the moment the first notes of Hard to Handle began to play, everything changed. The shy teenager disappeared. In her place stood a fearless performer with explosive energy, powerful vocals, and a stage presence that left the audience stunned. People jumped to their feet. The judges stared in disbelief. Within seconds, the theater erupted with applause. Courtney wasn't trying to imitate another singer. She brought her own raw, unpredictable style. Many viewers compared her energy to legendary rock and soul performers, but Courtney's performance still felt uniquely her own. When the song ended, the audience gave her a standing ovation. The judges praised her confidence on stage and her remarkable voice. Then came the moment that changed her life. Howie Mandel pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti filled the air. Courtney burst into tears. Her dream had suddenly become real. Overnight, millions of people around the world were searching her name. The audition quickly became one of the most watched performances in the history of America's Got Talent. It spread across YouTube, television, and social media. Fans couldn't stop talking about the incredible contrast between the quiet girl who walked on stage and the confident artist who walked off it. But Courtney's musical journey had started long before that famous audition. She was born in County Durham, England, and showed an interest in music from an early age. Inspired by classic rock, blues, and soul artists, she developed a style that stood out from many singers her age. Before appearing on America's Got Talent, she had already competed on The Voice Kids UK, gaining valuable experience performing in front of audiences. Each performance helped build her confidence. Each challenge prepared her for an even bigger stage. Here's something to think about. Have you ever surprised people by doing something they never expected from you? Tell us about that moment in the comments. Although Courtney didn't win America's Got Talent, reaching the finals introduced her to a global audience. That exposure opened doors that many young musicians only dream about. Recording opportunities, live performances, a growing fan base around the world. But success brought something else, too. Pressure. Millions of people now expected every performance to be as unforgettable as her audition. Every interview, every new song, every public appearance. Fans watched closely. Media outlets followed her career, and internet headlines became more dramatic with each passing year. Some praised her remarkable talent. Others created sensational stories that spread far faster than the truth. Among those stories were claims involving Simon Cowell, headlines suggesting emotional moments that quickly went viral. But were those headlines accurate? Or had the internet turned ordinary events into extraordinary stories? In the next chapter, we'll explore how overnight fame changed Courtney's life, the challenges she faced as a young artist, and why growing up in the spotlight is often much harder than it looks. One performance, just a few minutes on stage. That was all it took to change Courtney Hadwin's life forever. Before America's Got Talent, she was a talented teenager with big dreams. After her audition, she became an international sensation. Her performance spread across YouTube, Facebook, television, and news websites around the world. Millions of people watched it, then tens of millions. Soon, the view count climbed even higher. For many young artists, this kind of attention would seem like a dream come true. But fame comes with a price. Almost overnight, Courtney went from performing for audiences in talent competitions to knowing that millions of strangers were watching her every move. Every new performance was compared to her famous audition. Every interview was analyzed. Every social media post attracted thousands of comments. Some were filled with praise. Others were harsh. That's one of the hardest parts of becoming famous at such a young age. The applause is loud, but so is the criticism. Despite the pressure, Courtney continued performing throughout the competition. Week after week, she challenged herself with different songs and styles. Not every performance received the same reaction as her audition. Some viewers loved her unique voice and energetic stage presence. Others preferred her very first performance. That's completely normal for any artist. The important thing was that Courtney kept growing. She wasn't trying to repeat the exact same performance forever. She was trying to become a better musician. After the show ended, Courtney didn't disappear from the music world. Instead, she began building a career on her own terms. She released original music, performed at concerts, and continued writing songs that reflected her own artistic identity. Rather than rushing to fit into a commercial image, she focused on developing her sound. That decision takes patience. Real careers aren't built in a single viral moment. They're built over years of steady work. Here's something to think about. If you suddenly became famous overnight, what do you think would be the hardest part? Handling success, dealing with criticism, or trying to stay true to yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, the internet kept doing what it often does, creating bigger, more dramatic, more emotional headlines. Articles and videos started appearing with titles designed to attract clicks. Some claimed shocking secrets. Others hinted at behind-the-scenes drama. And many focused on the judges, especially Simon Cowell, suggesting emotional moments that sounded almost unbelievable. One headline after another claimed something extraordinary had happened. But here's the important question. Were those stories actually true? Or were they examples of how viral headlines can stretch small moments into sensational narratives? The difference matters. Because Courtney's real journey is already inspiring enough. She didn't need exaggerated stories to make her career interesting. Her talent spoke for itself. Still, the rumors continued spreading. And one particular claim became impossible to ignore. The idea that Simon Cowell had broken down in tears on live television because of something involving Courtney Hadwin. It was a headline shared by thousands of websites and videos. But did it really happen? Or was the truth something completely different? In the next chapter, we'll separate verified facts from internet fiction, examine what Simon Cowell has actually said publicly, and reveal why so many celebrity headlines become far more dramatic than reality. If you're enjoying this fact-based documentary, subscribe now. The next chapter uncovers the truth behind one of the internet's biggest Courtney Hadwin headlines, and the answer may surprise you. By now, the internet had created a story that sounded impossible to ignore. World in shock. Simon Cowell breaks in tears on live TV. After what happened to Courtney Hadwin, the headlines spread everywhere. Thousands of videos repeated the same claims. Millions of people clicked to find out what had happened. But when you look beyond the dramatic titles, a very different picture appears. The first thing to understand is that Simon Cowell has praised Courtney Hadwin on several occasions. During her time on America's Got Talent, he described her audition as unforgettable and recognized her rare stage presence. Like the other judges, he understood that Courtney possessed something you can't easily teach: originality. She wasn't trying to sound like anyone else. She wasn't trying to copy famous performers. She stepped onto the stage with her own voice and her own personality. That was exactly what made her memorable. However, there's no verified public event in which Simon Cowell broke down in tears on live television because of Courtney Hadwin. No official broadcast. No confirmed interview. No reliable news report. The dramatic headline is simply not supported by the available public record. So, why do these stories keep appearing? The answer is surprisingly simple. Online creators know that emotional headlines attract attention. Words like shocking, heartbreaking, in tears, finally admits, often generate more clicks than calm, factual titles. Over time, one exaggerated headline gets copied by another website, then another YouTube channel, then another social media page. Eventually, the same unverified story appears everywhere, making it seem true simply because so many people have repeated it. This phenomenon isn't unique to Courtney or Simon. It happens to countless celebrities. A small moment becomes a rumor. The rumor becomes a headline. The headline becomes accepted as fact by people who never check the original source. That's why it's so important to separate verified information from internet speculation. Here's something to think about. Have you ever believed a viral headline, only to discover later that the real story was completely different? Share your experience in the comments. The truth is that Simon has consistently spoken positively about talented contestants who bring something fresh to the stage. Courtney was one of those contestants. Her audition remains one of the most memorable in the history of America's Got Talent. That achievement doesn't need exaggerated stories to make it impressive. Her performance speaks for itself. Meanwhile, Courtney has continued focusing on what matters most: her music, her songwriting, and her growth as an artist. Rather than responding to every rumor or sensational headline, she has largely allowed her work to speak for itself. That may be one of the smartest decisions any young performer can make, because internet headlines fade. Real talent lasts. But Courtney's story didn't end when the television cameras stopped rolling. In fact, her most important journey may have started after the competition was over. The next chapter explores where Courtney Hadwin is today, how she has grown as an artist, and why her career continues to evolve long after the golden buzzer moment that made her famous. Everyone faces rumors or misunderstandings at some point in life. What matters most is staying focused on your goals, instead of letting other people's opinions define your future. For many talent show contestants, the biggest moment of their career happens on television. The applause fades, the cameras leave, and the public slowly moves on. But Courtney Hadwin chose a different path. Instead of chasing headlines, she focused on becoming a real artist. After America's Got Talent, Courtney continued writing and recording her own music. She released original songs that reflected her love of classic rock, blues, soul, and modern influences. Rather than trying to recreate the exact sound of her famous audition, she experimented with new styles and worked to develop her own musical identity. That isn't always easy. Fans often expect young artists to stay exactly the same as they were during the performance that made them famous. But musicians grow, their voices change, their interests evolve, and Courtney embraced that process. She also continued performing live, connected with audiences who had followed her journey from the very beginning. Each performance showed a little more confidence, a little more experience, and a little more maturity. The nervous teenager who first walked onto the America's Got Talent stage was becoming a young professional with a clearer understanding of who she wanted to be as an artist. At the same time, she kept a relatively private personal life. Unlike many celebrities who constantly appear in news, Courtney has generally allowed her music to remain the center of attention. She has avoided creating unnecessary drama and has focused instead on building her career step by step. That approach may not generate sensational headlines, but it often leads to something much more valuable: longevity, because music careers are marathons, not sprints. Here's something to think about. Do you think it's better to become famous overnight or to build success slowly over many years? Tell us your opinion in the comments. Looking back, it's clear that Courtney's golden buzzer moment was only the beginning. It opened the door, but she still had to walk through it herself. She had to continue learning, continue writing, continue performing, and continue growing despite the enormous expectations placed upon her. That's something many viewers never see. Talent competitions can launch a career. They cannot sustain one. Only dedication can do that. And Courtney has continued showing that dedication long after the television spotlight moved on. Meanwhile, fans still return to her unforgettable audition. Millions continue discovering it for the first time every year. For some, it's the greatest America's Got Talent audition ever. For others, it's simply one of the most memorable performances in the show's history. Either way, its impact remains undeniable. In our final chapter, we'll explore why Courtney Hadwin's audition continues to inspire millions around the world, what makes her story so unique, and why the truth behind her journey is ultimately far more inspiring than any viral headline. If you've enjoyed discovering the real story behind the headlines, subscribe now. Our final chapter reveals the lasting legacy of one unforgettable audition and why Courtney's greatest success may still lie ahead. Some performances entertain people for a few minutes. Others are remembered for years. Then there are the rare performances that become part of television history. For Courtney Hadwin, that moment came the instant she stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2018. Millions of people expected to see a nervous teenager. Instead, they witnessed one of the most surprising transformations ever seen on a talent competition. That single audition continues to inspire viewers because it reminds us of something important. First impressions don't always tell the whole story. Confidence can appear when opportunity arrives. And extraordinary talent can be hiding behind quiet personalities. Courtney's journey also teaches another lesson. Viral success is exciting, but it isn't the finish line. It's only the beginning. The years after her audition required just as much determination as the performance that made her famous. She had to write new music, develop her own artistic identity, handle public expectations, and continue growing while much of the world watched. That's a challenge many young artists never fully overcome. Yet Courtney has continued moving forward, choosing to focus on music rather than chasing sensational headlines. Perhaps that's why her story remains so meaningful. It isn't built on controversy. It's built on perseverance. Throughout this documentary, we've also uncovered an important truth about today's media. Not every dramatic headline reflects reality. Claims that Simon Cowell broke down in tears on live television because of Courtney are not supported by verified public evidence. What is supported by the public record is something far more genuine. Simon praised Courtney's remarkable talent. Her audition became one of the defining moments of America's Got Talent, and millions of fans around the world continue to celebrate that performance years later. Sometimes, the truth doesn't need exaggeration. It's already powerful enough. Here's one final question. Which America's Got Talent audition has impressed you the most over the years? Was it Courtney Hadwin, another singer, a magician, or someone completely different? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your choice. As time passes, new contestants will continue stepping onto the America's Got Talent stage. Some will win, some won't. But only a handful will create a moment that people still talk about years later. Courtney Hadwin is one of those few. Her audition wasn't memorable because of flashy effects. It wasn't memorable because of a dramatic backstory. It was memorable because of raw talent meeting the perfect opportunity. And that's why millions still return to watch it. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe now for more fact-based stories, exploring the journeys, triumphs, and untold truths behind the world's most unforgettable performers. And don't miss our next documentary, where we'll reveal another incredible talent show story, separate fact from fiction, and uncover what really happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Because sometimes, the greatest story isn't the one written in the headlines. It's the one that unfolds long after the spotlight fades.